Okay, what's the... Okay, Vayeishev speaks a lot about dreams, okay? And it's speaking about Yosef getting into a fight with his brothers, and because of that, Yosef ends up being sold to Egypt. So, there's an obvious question here that's so obvious that nobody discusses it. Well, I can't say nobody discusses it. The question is like this. Yosef was an intelligent person.
Recording in progress.
Oh, you know what I didn't do? But you're right, I didn't do this.
Oh.
1 second. Guys, 1 second. I'm a different computer, that's why.
All Yosefs are intelligent, by the way.
You were on, Rabbi.
Recording in
I'm on, but
progress.
not on this. Okay. Okay, good evening. Let's start again. It's Parshat Vayeishev. It talks a lot about dreams. So there's an obvious question here. Yosef was an intelligent person. He knew his brothers hated him. Why in the world does he keep telling them dreams if he knows they're going to hate him? I mean, come on, you got to be crazy to know your brothers really hate you to the extent they're willing to kill you or to sell you as a slave, and because of that you're telling them dreams. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So the answer is, and here you see again the greatness of the tzaddikim of previous generations, of yesteryear. There's a din in Torah that a prophet who gets prophecy and who doesn't say it over, a person who gets prophecy that Hashem tells him to tell people, and he doesn't, what's called in halacha, in Torah, kovesh es nuvuasei, somebody who hides his prophecy from being told, is chai misa b'dei shemayim. Hashem kills you. Yosef maintained that his dreams are actually prophecies, as they were. As we see, the word prophecies. So therefore, Yosef knew that he had a biblical obligation of telling over the dreams to the brothers, because they had to bow down to him. They had to do all those things. So therefore, if Yosef didn't tell over the dreams, bottom line would be, he would be chayiv misa. So even though he knew the brothers hated him, even though he knew everything like that, nevertheless, he said, this is what Hashem wants, and there's nothing I could do about it but listen to Hashem. That's it. There's nothing I could do. What?
Don't tzaddiks basically, don't they only see the good anyways? It's difficult for them to see the bad.
Well, we're going to see soon what these, I mean, see, when you learn Chumash without the holiness of Chumash, or without the holiness of Torah, it's like any other story. You know, people make mistakes, and this person did something wrong, and they did something wrong, okay? The brothers were also tzaddikim, okay? They were the Shvatim, they were the holiest of people, not as great as the patriarchs, as the others, but they were very holy people. Why in the world would they want to kill their brother and sell him as a slave? I mean, come on, it's pretty bad, okay, what they wanted to do. And because they did what they did, even though in essence it was good what they did, but 10 martyrs were killed at the time of the destruction, Beis Hamikdash, second Beis Hamikdash, Rabbi Kiva, those people. Why? As a punishment for the 10 brothers that sold Yosef as a slave. I mean, that's where it went. And therefore it was pretty serious. So Yosef maintained that this is Nevuah. Now, what was this debate? Rashi says, Yosef used to snitch on the brothers, which is also something else that needs to be understood. He used to bring the Lashon Hara. So Rashi says, everything he used to see, okay, he used to snitch to Yaakov, which is by itself a problem, okay? Now, what were the three things? Rashi says, from the Medrash. He saw him eat live limb off an animal, which was one of the 7 Noahide laws that they're supposed to keep. They were disgusting to the children of Bilhah and Zilpah, the maidservants' children. And thirdly, he said they were suspected on adultery. Okay? That means Yosef is coming to his father and say, hey, you know what your kids are doing? They're eating Avim and Achai, which is not biblically not allowed for even for a non-Jew. They're committing adultery. That's the simple meaning. Committing adultery. Plus, they're disrespecting the children of Bilhah and Zilpah. Okay? So what was going on? So the commentaries explain there was a halachic debate going on. There was a halachic difference in the opinions of the brothers and Yosef. What does it mean? When the Torah says you're not allowed to eat a live limb off an animal, okay, that means when it's dead, the guy doesn't have to do shechita. When he kills it, he's allowed to eat it. Correct? Mm-hmm. Now, if you ever go to a slaughterhouse, not of chickens, of animals, after they kill the animal, they shecht it, the animal for a few minutes is really shaking. I mean, it's scary to watch it. I saw it a few times. It's scary to watch it. So now the question is like this. When is the animal considered dead that it's not called a live limb off an animal anymore? The brothers maintained as soon as it was shechted, as soon as it killed, it's dead, even though it's still shaking around like crazy. Yosef maintained, no, as long as the animal is shaking, it's still alive. And therefore, they're not allowed to eat the limb off the animal. What did the brothers do? When you kill an animal and it's shaking, it's very fresh still. It's super fresh, the meat. So the brothers were eating the meat that they took straight off the animal while it was shaking. So the brothers maintained it was not Avim and Achai. The animal's shechted, the animal's dead. So therefore they did not transgress that sin. Yosef maintained halachically, no. As long as the animal's still moving until it, so to speak, drops dead, finished, it's still alive. By the way, it's interesting, the halacha is like the brothers, not in Shulchan Aruch. In Gemara, the halacha is like the brothers, not like Yosef. So the brothers never did anything wrong. Okay? Then what was the issue with adultery? The brothers were business people. Okay? They had dealings with women. They talked to women in business. They didn't do, God forbid, anything wrong. But Yosef maintained these tzaddikim talking to women is adultery. That's what he maintained. Because on their level, they're sitting and they're talking to women in business, that's adultery. And therefore Yosef said to the father, you're committing adultery. Now, according to halacha, if the brothers were right and Yosef was wrong, so based on that, Yosef had a din of a snitcher, a mosor. He was snitching incorrectly. Okay? He was snitching to their father, Yaakov, things that they did wrong and they didn't do wrong.
It wasn't the time.
And the din is a mosor you can kill. A snitcher you're allowed to kill.
And if it's factual, it's Lashon Hara.
Yeah, but here it wasn't even true.
No, but let's say either way he's in trouble.
Correct. But so the brothers maintain, and that's why when the brothers said, let's kill him, the Medrash said, wasn't this, let's kill him. They set up a Bezdin, and they ruled that Yosef is supposed to get killed for snitching on us, our father, of things that he was wrong and we were right. So that's what so Reuben came and said, no, let's save his life. Let's, we'll save his life. We'll put him into the pit, which we'll discuss soon what Reuben did wrong also with him. Okay, now, in this week's Parsha, the beginning of the Parsha, there is two dreams Yosef is telling to the brothers. One dream is, he said, hey, we're all bundling bundles in the field, and my bundle got up, and then your bundle bowed to me. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was one dream. Another dream, so the brother got angry. What are you going to rule upon? What do you think we're going to bow to you? Okay. Then he dreamt another dream. The sun and the moon and 11 stars were all bowing to me. Okay? Two very interesting dreams, which basically, if you think about it, said the same thing. right? One was about bundling, bowing to me, and then the sun and the moon and the stars are bowing to me. So, why does Yosef have two dreams? And then in next week's parsha, in Miketz, Paro also has two dreams. Yeah? One starts off, and it's remarkable, and you'll see the commentaries. Paro had a first dream, 7 heavy, big, gesetzte cows, big, full cows, and then 7 skinny cows got up, and the 7 skinny cows ate the fat cows. Okay. Then he has another dream, that there are 7 stalks, and there are 7 good stalks and 7 bad stalks, and the bad stalks swallowed the good stalks, and, right? Similarly, both of them, Pari had a dream, same dream, basically in 2 different ways. One with fat cows and skinny cows, one with fat growths and skinny cow stalks. And Yosef had 2 dreams, basically the same thing. Now, by Pari's dream, Yosef had to explain why the dream was doubled. Yosef had to explain to Paro why he doubled, because Hashem's going to make it happen very quickly. Over here, there's no explanation why the dream was doubled. And there's another fundamental difference between Yosef's dreams and Pari's dreams. Yosef's dreams first started bundling stalks, and then it went up to heaven as sun and the moon. It went upward, stalks to heavenly things. Pari's dreams started with cows and went down to stalks. It went from animal to plant. Yosef's dream went from plant to heavenly things. Okay, and this went the opposite way. Okay, so there's a lot of differences over here, and there's a lot of fundamental differences between Yosef's dreams and Pari's dreams. I'm going to emphasize more Yosef's dreams because that's in this week's parsha. Pari's dream was, nobody was doing anything, by the way. Fat cows, skinny cows, the skinny cow ate the fat cows. Nobody is doing anything except the cows. The stalks, they come up the big stalks and the skinny stalks, and the skinny stalks eat up the fat stalk. Okay. By Yosef's dream, there's this thing, we're bundling bundles in the field. We're doing something. We're bundling bundles in the field. We're making bundles. Okay? And then, after we make them into bundles, your bundle bounces to my bundle. So, the explanation, like the Rebbe explains in these dreams of Yosef, we're concentrating today on Yosef's dreams. What is the concept of bundling bundles? Bundling bundles means you take individual straws and you tie them together. That's what bundling a bundle means. You take individual things and now you make it into a one bundle. What is the avodah of the Jew? The avodah of a Jew is to make from pluralism, from diversity, from lack of oneness of Hashem, to make the oneness of Hashem. That's the role of a Jew. Yosef's dream is telling the Jew the avodah what we need to do. We need to take single stalks and make them into a bundle. Meaning, make from diversity, pluralism, not one God, many gods, or whatever it may be, and we make it into one Hashem. That's the avodah of the Jew. In addition to that, a Jew is supposed to always go up. Pari's dreams were going down. Cows to stalks. Okay, like the Goyim and Chanukah, the bulls keep getting less. The 70 bulls on Sukkot, and it's connected to Chanukah also. But by a Jew, the avodah is to go from one level to a higher level. Once it reaches the higher level, what is the higher level? Sun, moon, 11 stars. Okay? And therefore, there are 2 distinct dreams. One's an earthly dream, the stalks, avodah of the Jew, and then the Jew reaches the sun and the moon, which is the powerful levels of spirituality. So Yosef's dream doesn't need to be explained why it's doubled. Because the Jew serves lower avodah, lower service of Hashem, and then he come. And then and then he goes to a higher level of godliness. Paro's dream that goes from higher to low with nobody doing anything, over there you need to explain why it's doubled. So Yosef's dream is a completely avodah of making from diversity to make it into one particular avodah. Okay, next is like this. So the brothers hated him, and Yaakov Avinu is telling them, Kula, it's a dream, it doesn't mean anything. But Yaakov Avinu knew that the dream is going to become true. Okay. So he says like this. Yaakov sends Yosef. By the way, there's a very interesting, the Gemara asks this question. There's a rule that Yaakov knew, you're talking about first of smart people and holy people. Yaakov knew the brothers hated him. Yet he's sending Yosef to see how the brothers are doing. Don't you think Yaakov understood that the brother may kill him? So the Gemara asks the question, and the Gemara answers, okay, there's a rule, shluchei mitzvah eina nezakim. People that are going, when somebody travels, they give him money to put into a pushka. What do you do that for? Because then he becomes a shliach, a messenger to do a mitzvah, and he's a messenger to do a mitzvah, so then they don't get hurt. But the Gemara asks, so why did Yosef get hurt? No. So the Gemara answers, when do you say shluchim mitzvah don't get hurt? It's if it's a normal situation. But if it's shchicha azeka means if it's a crime scene, if it's really a dangerous place, even sending as a mitzvah is not going to help. That also is not going to help. So therefore, Yaakov maintained the brothers didn't hate him that much. So therefore, he made him a shliach mitzvah for kibbut avayim. Check how the brothers are doing. The Pro Yosef got hurt because it was for sure going to be a danger, and therefore shliach mitzvah is not going to help. But Yaakov sends Yosef, and Yosef says, by the way, hineni, I'm ready. So what happens over here? It says like this: Vayimtzo'ehu ish, a man finds him in the field, and he says, "Ma tavakesh, what are you looking for?" So he said, "I'm looking for my brothers." So that guy Gabriel told him, they went away. Here it says the word ish. Okay? Rashi, who is ish? Gabriel. Last week's Parsha, when Yaakov was alone, and the Malach of Vayeishev came, when he got, Vayivasa Yaakov levado, Yaakov remained alone. Vayiyavik ish imay. The same word ish fought him. Over there Rashi says, who is ish? The Malach of Vayeishev. Over there it says ish, it means Esav. Here it says ish, it means Gabriel. Like why? So no, the answer is very simple. You can look at the context. Over there a guy was fighting. That ish is fighting. It can't be holiness. It has to be Esav. You're dying with the Esav fights. Here, what's the story here? Listen, this is remarkable. This is Chabadniks. A man sees a Jewish kid lost. He saw Basada. This man sees a Jewish kid lost in the field. And he asked him, what are you looking for? How can I help you? That has to be an angel. But what's the Torah teaching us in a lesson? If you see a Jewish kid lost, doesn't mean physically lost. It could be spiritually lost, emotionally lost, intellectually lost. The first thing you come to ask him is, how can I help you? How can I help you? And he says, I'm looking for my brothers. Meaning, I'm looking for my soul. I'm looking for, some Yiddishkeit. So he says, okay, they went to They went to a different place. They went to Dyson, whatever. But it's interesting. Yosef, based on the context of the pasuk, we see right away who are we talking about. Are we talking about an Esav that sees a Jew, you fight him? Or do you see a Jew that's lost, you say, how can I help you? That's a very interesting thing. Then it says like this. So Yosef comes to the brothers, okay? And so he says like this. When he comes, the brothers say, let's kill him. Okay? Reuben said, no, let's not kill him. Let's throw him into the pit. Okay, let's throw him into the pit. He didn't know they were going to sell him. Let's throw him into the pit. All of a sudden it says, the brothers went and they sold Yosef. They sold him a few times, by the way. Then it says, Vayeishev Reuven al abor. Reuven came back to the pit, and Yosef's not in the pit. So where was Reuven? Where was Reuven? So Rashi says, he wasn't there by the selling for two reasons. Either his day came to serve his father, Yaakov, every day, another brother went, or he was fasting in sack and ashes because he messed up the bed of Bilhah. After Rachel died, Yaakov moved his bed to Bilhah, and Reuven was upset. He said, okay, we should go to Leah, my mother, and so he didn't do anything wrong, but in that he was upset, okay? So, the Rebbe explained in a Sikha, what did Reuven do wrong? Reuven did wrong because it says, later on he was crying that he sold Yosef because of him. Yosef was sold. He would have been there. He would have told the brothers, no, you can't sell him because he was the oldest. He was responsible. So what happened? The Rebbe explains like this. Reuven was fasting, doing tshuva for a minute crime that he did. So seemingly it's good, right? He's doing something good. But the Rebbe says the problem with what Reuven did was when there's a Jewish kid in danger, you don't leave him. You don't leave him to go pray and to do tshuva and to do whatever you want. Okay? What you need to do is stay with the kid who's in danger. So your intentions were good, Reuven. He thought, okay, I'm going to do tshuva for fasting, doing what I messed up on my father's bed. But the bottom line is, when there's a Jewish kid in a pit with danger, then you don't leave the kid there. Okay, you have to stick with the kid. You could be holy. It's like the Rebbe explains that when there's a fire burning, so you need the firefighters. Yeah? So it's interesting, not nowadays. Years ago, the firefighters, what did they do a whole day? Today they have building permits, all this. Years ago, when we were growing up, what did the fire department do? They were sitting in the fire station, playing cards, and then when they got the alarm, they all ran and... So somebody would think they're not doing anything the whole day. But the bottom line is, when push comes to shove, they risk their lives. They were willing to risk their lives to help save a fire, a building, a person, whatever it is. So the Rebbe explains that if there's a Jewish kid in a pit, you don't leave anything. Then there's a small vart over here, rabbis always say at funerals. It says, V'ine ein Yosef babor. Yosef was not in the pit. Now, bor means a pit. When they bury you after 120 years, they put you in a pit, in a grave. Ein Yosef. Yosef means to add. Hosafa, to add. People should know, once you're in the pit, there's nothing you could add. You want to do Torah mitzvahs, you want to do good deeds, it got to be when you're alive. Yeah. Once you're in the pit, Ein Yosef babor, there's nothing more you can add to the pit. But my father used to say an interesting thing. You have on a chessboard, you have a lot of different pieces, right? You have the pawns and the knights and the rooks and the bishops and the king and the queen. Everybody has a, different thing. But that's only when it's on the board. When they put, at the end of the game, they put the pieces back into the box, They're all the same. All the pieces are the same. You could be a king, a queen. In the box, after they finish the game, they put the pieces. There's no king, there's no queen, there's nothing. The Rebbe once said, we're going off a little bit, but the Rebbe once said a lesson from chess. You have to learn lessons from everything. A lesson from chess, the Rebbe said, there's a lot of different values of pieces. But only the pawn, if it gets to the other side, can become any piece it wants except the king. Right? You play chess, you know. A pawn, if it gets to the other side, it could become any piece that it wants to be. It could become a queen, a rook, a bishop, a knight, whatever. Yeah? It can become a king. Why? But only the pawn could do that. No other piece, the castle cannot become a queen, even if it gets to the other side. It just can't. The only thing that piece that can become something is the pawn. And the Rebbe said that means like this. Why can't he become a king? Because Ein Melech Ela Echad. There's only one king, that's God. Okay? In Avodas Hashem. Okay? But the pawn, meaning the simple foot soldier, not the generals, the king, the queen, the guys in the back row of the chess set. The guys, the peasants, the foot soldiers that are going first. Yeah? Those are the ones that can win a battle and become anything. They become the ultimate greatness of anything they want. King you can't become because Hashem Echad. There's only one king. You can't have anybody else. But that's a very interesting lesson from chess, by the way. Okay, now, when they threw Yosef into the pit, in Parak Lamed Zayin Pasuk Chof Dalid, it says they took him, they threw him into a pit. And then it says like this, Vaberek, the pit was empty, Ein by Mayim. There was no water in the pit. So it's redundant. If it's empty, there's obviously nothing in it. So Rashi says, it's the concept what's called double negative makes a positive. So Rashi says, what does it mean? It's in the Gemara in Shabbos, by the way, in the Chanukah Gemara. So Rashi, if it says Borek, the pit is empty, don't they know there's no water? So what does it mean there's no water? It's a double negative, meaning a positive, that Mayim Ein Bay. There was no water in the pit, but there were snakes and scorpions in the pit. That's what the Gemara says. There was no water in the pit, but there are snakes and scorpions in the pit. Okay, now what is the lesson here, so to speak? Water refers to Torah. Ein Mayim ala Torah. Torah refers to water. But Torah has a lot of different names, by the way. Torah is called water, fire. Mimine Eish Doslam, at the end of Chumash it says Torah is a fiery law. Torah is called lechem, bread, and Torah is called cholav. One of the reasons we eat dairy on Shavuos is because Torah is like the cholav, okay, and milk, so we eat dairy and Pesach, and Shavuos, I'm sorry. So Torah is called many different names. Now, it doesn't mean different names. There's different aspects of Torah. What is, like, for instance, bread. Bread is the staple of life. But in order for bread to give you life, you have to eat it. You have to digest it. You can't put bread on your stomach and get full or live. Bread has to be digested. So the same thing when you learn Torah, you have to digest it. You have to internalize it. You have to bring it in, live with it, to give it... What's the aspect of Mayim? Mayim is tasteless. Mayim's water symbolizes humility. Okay? It symbolizes humility. It's not like wine, things like, it's very simple, what's called Kabbalah Sil, acceptance of the yoke. It's basically it's called bittul, okay? Humility. The Torah is teaching us a very important thing here. A person who is empty from Torah, Mayim Ein Bo, so automatically snakes and scorpions fill in. If a Jew is empty with Torah, this is the simple meaning. We'll get into a deeper meaning in a second. The simple meaning is, if a person doesn't have Torah learning, Torah knowledge, then there's no such thing as neutrality. If you don't have holiness, then, and you're supposed to have holiness, then evil sets in. Then evil sets in, snakes and scorpions. Now what's the concept of snakes and scorpions? In Hebrew, Nachash is snakes, Nachashim v'akrabim, right? Nachash is snake. Nachash represents the original sin. The Nachash got Chava to sin. The Gemara says the venom of a snake is hot. Then you have scorpion, which in many halachas is more dangerous than a snake. The venom of a scorpion is cold. And in fact, the middle letters of Akrov, Ayin Kuf Reish Bet, is Kad. It's cold. So you remember that the venom of a snake and scorpion, the snake is hot, and the scorpion is cold. Now this represents very evil forces, dangerous evil. Snakes can kill you, scorpions can kill you. What does it mean in a spiritual sense? If somebody is very enthusiastic, they're all excited, they're burning with temptations of worldly things, that's a very dangerous thing. Because it can get you in the wrong places. If you're too enthusiastic about worldly things that are not according to Torah. It could be very... can I get the source material? Yeah, it's called the Vayeishev and Chassidus. We're all over the place. Anyway, so snakes represent enthusiasm of evil. Scorpions, Kar, represents coldness to Yiddishkeit. Coldness to Yiddishkeit. You can have people that are very enthusiastic about worldly things, and then you have other people that are very cold to Yiddishkeit. If a person doesn't have Torah, Mayim, which is Torah, if a person doesn't have Torah, then there's no such thing as like being, okay, a normal person. You know, there's a very interesting halacha. A Jew wakes up in the morning, you know, we have to wash our hands, right? Negel Wasser, it's called. You have to wash our hands because there's impurity on our hands. Right? We shouldn't touch food, we shouldn't touch, whatever. We have to wash our hands. When a non-Jew wakes up in the morning, they don't have to wash their hands. They can come to your house if you're a housekeeper, right? They don't wash Negel Wasser in the morning. You come to your house, they can help you with the food, and there's nothing wrong with it. Why is that?
Because their source is unholiness.
So it's like this. A Jew has a neshama, okay, which is kedusha. At night, the neshama goes out of the body. Sleep is a 60th of death, the Gemara says. It's a 60th of death. The neshama goes back up and gets rejuvenated. So because holiness leaves, there's a vacuum. So evil sets in. That's what it says in Halacha, not only Kabbalah, in Halacha. Because the neshama is holy, the neshama leaves the body, so immediately evil sets in. When you wake up in the morning, the neshama comes back, the evil leaves, except on the fingernails. That's what you have to wash Negel Wasser, okay? By a guy, there's no kedusha of a neshama. A guy doesn't have a neshama. So, if there's no neshama, then there's not a lack of kedusha that evil will set in. So there's no tumah on their hands that they would have to wash Negel Wasser. Okay, they wash the Natila in the morning. So what the Pasuk is saying over here, and the Gemara learns it out, and the Gemara speaks about Chanukah, and I'll tell you, what the Gemara says this in the Chanukah Gemara. In the Gemara in Shabbos, that talks about Chanukah, the Gemara says this Pasuk, and it says, if it's empty, then there's snakes and scorpions. Meaning, if you don't learn Torah, you have snakes and scorpions. Okay? But why does it say the concept of Mayim? What's Mayim? We said before, Mayim is humility. When a person learns Torah, to have the proper sanctity of Torah, and the way Torah should affect the person in a very spiritual, direct, very good way, it has to be when a person learns with humility. If they don't learn with humility, they learn with ego, then they're not learning it as God's Torah. When a person learns God's Torah, what humility means, very simply, basic humility. It's God's wisdom It's infinite. There's no way in the world that I'm able to understand a finite mind. No matter how brilliant you are, you're finite. There's no way in the world a finite mind could understand anything infinite. It just can't.
It's the Greek approach versus what we have.
Correct. That is exactly, that's exactly the story of Hanukkah. That's exactly why the Gemara is saying this din, that if there's no water, snakes and scorpions come in the Gemara of Hanukkah. And you know, this 2 weeks is Hanukkah. But let me explain what and the Rebbe connects in this talk to the story of Hanukkah. Everybody knows the story. The Greeks came into the Beis Hamikdash, and it says in the Gemara, they defiled the oil. Timu kol hashmanim shebeichel. They impurified every single jug of oil that was in the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah? And the Jews found finally one jug that was enough to last one day. It lasted 8 days. Yeah? So there's a lot of questions on that, by the way. According to halacha, if everybody's tamei, the laws of impurity don't apply. According to halacha, the Jews were allowed to light with that impure oil. They didn't have to rely on a miracle. Because all the commentaries ask, how did they do a miracle, miraculous oil? You're not allowed to do mitzvahs with miracles. It has to be natural. And that oil was miraculous. Okay? But halachically, they could have used that impure oil to kindle the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. And they didn't. They went and they found a jug. And by the way, it's another interest. The Gemara says they impurified all the oil.
What did they do to it?
They opened it up and touched it, so it became impure. It wasn't sealed anymore. They touched it, it became impure. The Greeks were big scholars, by the way. The Greeks learned Torah. They knew it. And they knew that halacha. They knew that you could light. So if the purpose of the Greeks coming into the Beis Hamikdash was that they shouldn't kindle the menorah, they didn't accomplish anything. If they didn't want the Jews to light the menorah, they should have burnt the oil, taken it away, throw it out, whatever. What did they accomplish by impurifying the oil if according to law the Jews were allowed to use that oil? But this is exactly what the Greeks wanted. We say in Alanisim, what the Greeks wanted to do, Lashkichem Torah Secha, to make them forget your Torah. It doesn't say to make them forget Torah. To make them forget your Torah, that they should be transgressing the illogical mitzvahs of Torah. In other words, as Chassidus explains, the Greeks had no problem. The Greeks were culture. Greeks were intelligent. The Greeks had no problem with Jews studying Torah. It's a brilliant book. Okay? They even teach it in universities, Talmud. It's a brilliant book. What the Greeks wanted was they should do it impurely. Don't make it holy. Learn Torah as a secular wisdom. Doesn't have to be God's Torah. It doesn't have to be God's mitzvahs. Do what you want, when you want, how you want. Just do it. But not God's Torah. So the Gemara is saying, that's exactly what's going on over here. The Gemara is saying, in the story of Hanukkah, the Gemara says, if there's a lack of purity, water symbolizes purity also, mikvah, right? Bittul, humility, purity. The Gemara says, in the story of Hanukkah, you wish you learned Talmud at university? That's a good, okay. It's never too late, you can learn it now. So what does he want? He wants that the Jews should keep the Torah. And so the Gemara says, in the story of Hanukkah, what does this teach us? If there's no purity in learning Torah, you're learning it like every other secular wisdom, or you're learning it for egotistic purposes, the Torah says then you're going to be full of snakes and scorpions. It's dangerous. It's better not to learn than to learn Torah like that. And that's why this pasuk is saying what it's saying. Okay, another few interesting things. Yosef finally ends up in Egypt. Okay. By the way, just if you remember, we spoke the other week about Lot and his two daughters creating Mashiach. You know, Ammon and Moab. And this week's Parshat was the same thing with Judah and Tamar. Tamar also was living with her father-in-law. Granted, before Matan Torah was it was allowed. Snakes and scorpions. Snakes symbolize enthusiasm for worldly things, and scorpions represent coldness to Yiddishkeit. So Tamar, even though before Matan Torah was allowed, but Tamar, she was Tamar and her father-in-law. After Matan Torah, there will be a mamzer. But they gave birth to Zarach and Peretz was the forebearer of Boaz and Mashiach and David HaMelech and so on. Okay, now Yosef is thrown into prison. Okay, so at the end of the parsha, there's a bunch more things we'll get back to in the middle. Okay, so it says, there's also another interesting lesson. Yosef comes, and so while he's in prison, the butler and the baker sin. Right? The butler, there was a fly came into the wine, and the baker had a stone in the bread, whatever. Threw him into prison. Okay? So, they had a dream. Okay, now Yosef comes and says to them, Vayeishev aleim Yosef baboker. Everything in Torah is such a lesson. Yosef comes to them in the morning, and he says they're zayafim. Basically, use a nice language, they're depressed. Yeah? So Yosef says to them, why do you look so bad today? Madur perechem roim hayin. Yeah? Why do you look so bad? I mean, if you think about it, it's a stupid question. Why they look bad? They're sitting in prison. What do you mean, why they're bad? They were the king's butler and baker, and now he throws them into prison. Why would you be happy?
In a dungeon.
In a dungeon. It wasn't a country club like today. So Yosef says to them, hey guys, why are you depressed today? So they said, we had a dream and we couldn't interpret it. Yeah? What's the Torah telling us over here? Every pasuk in Torah is a lesson. Okay? Yosef's question was a rhetorical question. He wasn't asking them, why are you sad? He's asking, the question was, how can I help you? Like the kid wandering in the desert and the Malach comes and says, how can I help you? Yosef is coming to criminals, officially. There are criminals that are thrown into prison. And Yosef sees two people upset with something. Despair. Yeah. Yosef's question, he didn't ask, it was an opening statement, why are you sad? His question was, how can I help you? That means no matter what the situation is that a person puts himself into, a Jew sees another person needing help, whether a kid lost in the field, spiritually, physically, whatever, or a person is upset, depressed, doesn't know what's going on. The Torah is teaching us, you ask him, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And Yosef was supposed to be helped. He ended up not being helped because the butler forgot about him. Okay? So that's another very interesting lesson. Okay, now it's like this. One second. Okay, then we say. Okay, let's go back to some other things in the parsha. Okay. Number one, the pasuk says that the brothers hated him and they couldn't speak peacefully with him. So Rashi says, from their evil, you learn their praise, their greatness. That what? They were not politicians. Echad bepeh, there's an expression in Hebrew, echad bepeh v'echad belev. Your heart is one way and you speak something else. You speak nicely to somebody inside you hate his guts. Okay? So by them, the brothers, their greatness was they weren't false. They weren't politicians. They said what they felt and they felt what they said.
Was this like an issue where Hashem put it in their hearts, or no?
Listen, the whole story of Mechidas Yosef, the whole story, okay? As bad as it was that they were punished, okay? At the end of Parshat Vayeishev, okay, after Yaakov dies, Yaakov passes away, and the brothers are afraid that Yosef is not going to treat him nicely anymore. Okay? After all, okay, well, Yaakov was alive. He was afraid to start with his Yaakov. Okay? So now, after they come back from the funeral, he says like this. And they said to Yosef, they fell on their face, and they said, we are your slaves. We're ready. We're here. So Yosef said, what are you talking about? He said, am I instead of God? And then Yosef said a phenomenal statement. If we would only live with this statement, we would be unbelievably good people. He says like this, Atem chashaftem alai ra. You guys thought about me bad. You wanted to kill me. First kill me and then say, sell me as a slave, who knows where, right? Elokim chashav l'teva. God made it good. It was good. You guys thought evil against me, and Hashem said, no, this is good. God thought it to be good. Okay? Chashav l'teva. So he says, if God wanted this to be, God says it's good, how can I hurt you if Hashem tells me it's good? It's good, what you did. Now what is that sentence is a fundamental aspect of Igeres HaKodesh Siman Chafei, the 25th letter in Tanya in Igeres HaKodesh. The Alter Rebbe is basically saying like this. What is Yosef saying over here? You guys thought you did something wrong. Okay? But as far as I'm concerned, it was good. Not only Gamzul L'Teva. It was, to begin with, it was good. Okay? Gamzul L'Teva means this is also for the good. Yosef here is saying something else. This itself is good. Now, what does that mean? Because somebody would ask a question. The brothers selling Yosef is good or bad?
Good.
Well,
I mean, on face value.
Face value is bad.
Right.
But brothers selling the brother as a slave, not knowing what's going to be. But because of that, Yosef ruled Egypt. Yosef got Egypt ready for the brothers and Yaakov. They came down to Egypt. They elevated all the sparks. 202 sparks of Kedusha from the world of Torah that fell down. That was the preparation for Matan Torah. The pasuk says the preparation for Matan Torah was the Jews being in Egypt. That means they had to be refined. So in order for the Jews to get the Torah, they had to go through Egypt. So this is phenomenal. So what does it mean like this? So we learned this concept many times. It's so fundamental. If I hit you, okay, I did something wrong. You are supposed to look at it as something good coming straight from Hashem. Which means as follows. You have to separate, and this is what Yosef's telling them. What you guys did, you thought was bad, and it was stuck. That's why you were punished for it. But the fact that it happened to me, Yosef says, that came from Hashem, and it's good. Now sometimes, how many times did they tell you stories? People came late to a plane, and they were fuming that they missed the plane, and their plane crashed, and they were saved. Right? There's an interesting story, I mentioned it a number of times. There was a father of a kid.
True story.
A true story. A father of a kid broke his leg in camp, an overnight camp. Okay, the father was fuming at the camp, negligence, whatever. He wanted to sue the camp. I mean, the whole Jewish story. The kid, to make a long story short, the father worked in the Twin Towers, and when the thing blew up,